Alan, good morning to you. How you doing?
Joe.
Welcome. The rugby season is back. Winter is coming. You're here.
Just here, yeah. It wasn't. It was a good start. It was nearly a clean sweep. Connacht threw it away. I think they were in Galway on Saturday against Glasgow Warriors, who had all their internationals and they're a very strong side. But Connacht were 9 points up with 20 minutes remaining, and Glasgow down to 14 men, and they lost the game in the end.
Yeah.
So that was probably a concern from. They played really good rugby on Saturday. It was sun was shining, and Andy Friend, new coach, has spoken about giving them a bit of a license to play, and they look very, very exciting to watch at times, but porous in defence, unfortunately, and just lost us in the end to a good Glasgow side.
Yeah, Connacht could be. They've got a chance to be one of the stories of the season because, like, we forget that this is a team who was league-winning calibre, who were doing sensational things, and then last year obviously had a coach who just didn't fit.
There's a lot of negativity there last year, and a lot of frustration, and the players played within themselves a little bit, and I think players and management were probably at fault. They didn't click together. He seems like a very upbeat fella, Andy Friend, and positive and energetic, and they look very, very good in their skill sets. Their execution was good, but just porous in defence. Now, that can be a little bit critical. Glasgow are a very strong side, and they're the full deck on Saturday. So it was disappointing in the end for him. Craig Ronaldson had a late shot at goal, hit the post to win it. But when you're conceding up in the 20s, it's hard to win games in rugby anyway, high-scoring games like that. But a lot of positives, but the frailties in defence. Leinster Friday night, that was the one that I read some articles last week, and there's probably some criticisms there about that they were sending their perceived B team, and that it's devaluing the league a little bit, but they've so much strength and depth. We know that they're kind of they remind me a bit of Dublin. Leinster, they can bring up people off the bench, make changes, rotate the squad, and they did that Friday night again. Defence was a bit dodgy, but you just felt at the end they got a late Brian Byrne try to win it.
Their B team at the start of last year, though, had like Dan Levy in it, and had James Ryan in it, and had Jordan Larmour in it. I was like, this B team is no good, and it's like, actually, they're all world class players,
Yeah, and some of the stories that were coming out from, the articles were devaluing the league, and look. I think for the PRO14, it'd be great if all the internationals played every week, but it's just something that has worked really well for us in Ireland here, and probably we're an envy of all the countries that we can rotate the players like that. And they ground out a result again, and again it was probably Cardiff's close to their full strength, and it just goes to show the depth and the strength of that Leinster squad to get a result. Speaking
of rotation and stuff, we were all expecting Joey Carbery to start at number 10. He doesn't start at number 10. JJ Hanlon starts at number 10 for Munster. Munster have an easy win against the Cheetahs, and we'll see how good the Cheetahs are this year. But is that just you're going to have to earn your place here? We're not handing anything to you?
Yeah, well, look, I think to be fair to Johan van Graan, to bring Joey Carbery in and just put him straight in, he has time to change things around and give them all a crack at it, and hopefully it'll bring the best out of JJ Hanlon. He played well on Saturday. He can play centre, full back as well, so he's still an important player for me. And Keatley can play in a couple of different positions, but ultimately Carbery will start unless he plays absolutely horrendous in the next few weeks before Europe. There'll be a bit of mixing and matching before then. He sat on the bench on Saturday as well because he's in Australia. He's in the Australian tour. He didn't start, have huge taxation on his body in that tour, so he's probably back a little bit earlier than some of the other internationals, but they had an impressive win, 38-0. Darren Sweetenham was superb. The break he made for the first try, I don't know if you've seen it, and he does a little pass out a little flick like that out to Rory Scannell. It was an incredible try, and he looked really electric. Now the thing is probably, it has to be said for the Cheetahs, they're in the Curry Cup at the moment. They have two squads, a squad of 50 players trying to play in Curry Cup on Saturday. They were beaten by the Sharks on Saturday and beaten by Munster in Thomond Park. So it's difficult to manage that.
It's a hard time of the year.
Very, very difficult. It's two squads, one playing in South Africa, one playing in Ireland. And, I think people want the South African teams to be strong. Now the Kings were beaten by Zebra on Friday night as well. So, you want the South Africans to be a bit stronger. It's going to be difficult for them. they had some mitigating factors last year, but I think they need to be stronger this year.
Dragons beaten by Treviso at home.
Yeah, that's a tough one for Bernard Jackman. You know, he's there's a number of changes there, and he'll be more frustrated than anyone, and he's a really good coach, and it's a tough challenge. You know, they're expecting some change there, and but then again, you're playing against Benetton, who have all their internationals, so we must remember that. But to lose your home games, you want to try and win at home, and then you're up in Ulster, and they ground out a result, badly needed results. Now, you could say they were fortuitous in the end. They held on. John Cooney got a late penalty, but good start for Dan McFarnell to get a win under the belt anyway.
There's concern growing about the injury that Conor Murray has at the moment. It's a neck, shoulder injury they're talking about, and there's a possibility he might miss the first 2 rounds of Europe at this point, which would put him in doubt perhaps for the November internationals. And yet this is largely speculation because there's been no official confirmation this is the expected return date.
I think there's been no official confirmation of the exact prognosis of the injury, is because it's one of those ones that it could settle down in a few weeks, or it could take a little bit longer. And I think they're cautious to say, oh look, he's going to be back in 6 weeks, or he's going to be back in 4, or he's going to be back in 3 months, because I think it's one of those injuries that he's had a bit of a neck problem for a while, and they want to try and sort it out, and hopefully there's confidence that it will settle down pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So I think it's understandable in a way that they can't really give clarity. Yeah, of course you do.
So this is actually something I think that maybe doesn't get talked about a lot. Most rugby players have neck problems most of the time.
You're going to have stiffness in your shoulders, your neck. You're going to, there's going to be times where you're going to have to get a bit of mobility, massage, all that kind of stuff as the recovery. But I've never had an injection. I've had injection in the shoulders, right, because I damaged both my shoulders on a number of occasions. But he has some specific sort of a neck problem that he's got an anti-inflammatory injection in the neck, and they're hoping it'll settle down. I think it came in that Wales game last year, the year before.
18 months ago, I think.
18 months ago against Wales over in Cardiff.
It's a long time to have a neck injury like that.
That's the problem, Anthony, with rugby, because it's kind of like, and you often hear when at the end of a season, if someone doesn't go on the summer tour, it's a real chance to maybe get a little bit of a clean out or a little bit of surgery or rehab and get that problem fixed. It's very difficult. If I have a niggle in my shoulder during the season, I might take a week or 2 out of the game, but then it never really goes away fully.
You're just managing that.
You're managing through it, and that happens a lot in rugby, and that's kind of the price you pay, and that's fine too. I never had you'd love to have a 6-week block that you could take out, but players don't want that because they lose ground. And
is it an injury though that could get worse, Alan? Like, I mean, if the prognosis comes, like obviously the neck, you don't want to mess around with that.
Yeah. Well, look, I think they're obviously not going to operate on it, so I think they're confident that there's some bit of inflammation or something going on there. That this is kind of speculation. If I think it was more serious, because I think he's a priority for Ireland. I think they take him out now, do an operation, and have him right for
the World Cup.
Next year World Cup and all that kind of stuff. He's the one player's played. He's played the most since the last World Cup.
Right.
He started the most games for Ireland. So he's a phenomenal player, and he's very durable and robust. You don't rarely kind of see him injured.
Yeah.
And he loves that physicality as well. So I think, it's important that they get this right, and that's why Munster were allowed to sign Albie Matheson. I think a few eyebrows raised about another overseas player coming in, but suddenly they lose a couple of games in Europe, and they make it difficult for themselves. So it's a short-term thing. So, and I think they've given that, by signing him, they've given Conor Murray the opportunity to say, if it is 3-4 months,
who cares?
We can take that.
Yeah.
And I think people understand that look, if he's back in 6 weeks, which is a confidence, is what I'm hearing, that he could be back in 4, 5, 6 weeks. So hopefully he gets it sorted out pretty quickly, because he's a phenomenal player.
Yeah. Who's his replacement? Who's his backup?
Who's his replacement for Ireland? I think
that we can be confident.
I think Kieran Marmion is. I think he's the one. If you go right back to the Aviva Stadium again 18 months ago, when he played in that, when we stopped England from winning the Grand Slam, I think Marmion was the one who started that game. For sure, John Cooney has put himself, as a talking point, and he had a really good season, a tough year last year for Ulster, and Luke McGrath, I think, is. was superb in Leinster winning last year. He was very disappointed not to be in Australia. So I think, are they at the same level? Their ability to pass, to kick and be very competent at scrum halves is no doubt. They're very talented players. It's very hard to produce someone like Conor Murray. He's like a back row forward.
He's world class.
Because his defence is phenomenal. He's so physical. He tackles props.
But when you look at what they've done to make sure that there is a backup to Johnny Sexton, he's getting game time in Europe with the manoeuvring of Joey Carbery into Munster, are we doing the same as a backup at the moment?
Joey Carbery's a backup to Sexton. How many games has he started at 10 for Ireland? There's not a lot of opportunities to play them, give them 3 or 4 games on the trot or whatever. It just doesn't happen at international level. You just hope that...
There might be now in November, though. This is a chance for somebody to actually say,
maybe,
I am
Well,
the
look,
backup to
you
Conor
would
Murray.
think that for Italy, certainly, that would be an opportunity. And USA, I think New Zealand and Argentina in the middle are the two that it'll be going full strength. But if Murray is out for November,
that's what I'm saying.
does
Sorry,
Marmion start Cooney or Luke McGrath? I think Marmion is probably the next one who'll get the crack, and if he takes it, then. But to be fair to Cooney, he was very good last year, and Luke McGrath very consistent and impressive for Leinster. So. You can't just get like for like with Conor Murray.
No.
You won't produce someone like him. It's very hard to.
You just want some comfort level that, like, if Conor Murray is unavailable for our World Cup quarter final, that that we have somebody who's going to step in and go, I have some experience of what this is actually like.
Well, I think Marmion is the one who probably has that with that win against England. I think the other players have come off the bench on occasions and stuff, but. You just can't get that perfect scenario where you have plenty of experience for them in such a pivotal position. And most of the Ireland games in the last kind of number of years have been big games where you want to, you want just big players like, playing and starting.
Yeah. All right, Alan, good stuff.